My Filipino wife has been Americanized.
And you know why I know that my Americanized Filipino wife is not gonna leave me?
Why?
She's pregnant. She may not love me, she may not want me, but she needs me.
Glad to have you, amazing viewer. It's another exciting time at Comfort for Life. You can see a happy man, happy life. You know, we are diving into this story of this passport bro who went to the Philippines to find a wife, but things are getting messy between them. Enjoy the rest of the video and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Let's interact after we've known what's going on.
My Filipino wife has been Americanized. My Americanized Filipino wife. That seems to be triggering a lot of people. Let me explain what I mean. In America, if a wife, even a girlfriend, is not happy in the relationship, all she has to say to the world on social media, and especially to the government, I'm not happy. And if she drops the word abused or anything along those lines, the American system steps in. It steps in to protect her against any allegations that she makes. And the man's side of the story is, it's all assumed. I'm an evil, controlling.
I just wanted to clarify too that I am not getting any allowance and I don't have credit card. So everything that I am purchasing, I have to ask permission, and this needs to be discussed. So if you want something, we're gonna discuss it. This is how our marriage works.
Everybody, Chad to Dad here, coming at you with some more rage bait, which I just simply call the truth in reality. And I'm happy today because I get to spend some time with my son as I do a little remodeling in my basement that I've been hanging out. Now, I saw my wife post on TikTok yesterday, I think it was, that she has to have permission to get money. Yeah, actually that's true. And when I thought about it, I realized that was pretty fucking embarrassing. It's not like I spend a lot of money on myself. I don't go drinking with the boys or golfing or play video games, stuff like that. See, my philosophy is the money that I earn is the family's money. There's no mine and all that. But, you know, what she said was pretty triggering. Well, I want to tell you something. I've come up with a plan. And the plan is for Jayanne to earn the money that she wants. And how are we going to do that? She started a business. She started a business as a landlord. That way, she can file taxes and contribute to Social Security. She needs to do that anyway to become a U.S. citizen and learn responsibility with money. Landlords have a lot of responsibility. They have a lot of overhead, right? The construction that I'm doing down here, she's going to have to pay for that out of the first couple, 3, 4, 6 months of the rent. And any maintenance and support that I give her, she got to pay me like a handyman. And learn responsibility with money by running a business, profit, loss, everything else. Yeah, early on in our marriage, after about a year, I just stopped giving her money because I was getting pissed off at the waste, right? And another thing is, I don't feel like a wife should get paid to be a mom, right? You're both contributing to the family with your sweat equity. I do sweat equity as well as cash. And a mom taking care of kids, being a stay-at-home mom, that's her investment in the family. I don't think you should get paid to be a mom. So I don't know if this will work, but I think I found a way for Jayanne to generate the income that she wants, contribute to her citizenship, and earn the money that she has so that she can be more responsible for it. And stop saying that she needs permission from me to spend money or to get money. Thanks. Bye. Patriarchal, oppressive white dude. And the narrative quickly, instantly becomes me bad, she victim.
Every year, thousands of American men go overseas to marry young Filipino women. And in the end, they end up disappointed because these women, all they want is to obtain the green card to come to America.
My Filipino wife has been Americanized. My Americanized Filipino wife. That seems to be triggering a lot of people. Let me explain what I mean.
No, Chad. I love that your name is Chad. Please, let me explain to people what you mean when you say your Filipino wife has become Americanized. What you mean by that is that you never thought that you would be the one to lose the control in the relationship, right? Because you were the big, rich American that went to the Philippines and found some young girl who's, 30 years your junior, who I'm guessing was maybe didn't come from a ton of money and didn't have a ton of opportunities. And you essentially entered into this business agreement with her, right? In exchange for her marrying you, having children with you, enduring whatever it takes to be married to you and do the things that you consider a traditional wife to do. You would provide for her a certain lifestyle, a lifestyle that, included, money and, provide for her whatever she needed. And she agreed. But what you never counted on, because you thought, because you had all the money, you had all the power and control, was that one day she was going to stand up to you and say, fuck this. Because from what it sounds like, there was only so much she was willing to endure. And she drew the line when you were disrespectful to her parents. And I don't know if this was planned, coincidental, or just poetic, but this all happened just about 2 years after you'd been married. And now you're hiding in the basement, having your mantrum, missing Christmas with your own children because you were stomping your feet at the fact that your wife told you no. And what's wild to me, Chad, is that you entered into this knowing exactly what you were getting yourself into.
Why did you marry me?
Because I don't want to work.
I don't know, Chad. I'm just really surprised that you're surprised. The terms of your agreement seemed very clear to me. They just didn't extend to you treating her parents like shit. You reap what you sow, Chad. And I cannot tell you how deeply satisfying it is for me to tell you that as an Asian American woman.
Anne is not Americanized in that she's materialistic or even greedy. But she senses and she knows the support that she would get if things really got ugly between us. The American system is on her side, not mine, not the man's. You guys know what I'm talking about, right?
I really hate when men like him act like they're some unwitting victims of the family court system that just likes to favor women for no reason other than sexism. When honestly, what's going to happen in family court is a product of mostly his choices. There are things he opted into. Nobody forced him to do that. And let me start with the fact that family court already, she has one really big thing that's going to count against her in family court. And that's the fact that she is not a US citizen and she wants to leave the country with her children. The family court system, as soon as you file for a divorce or a separation, you usually cannot leave the United States. A lot of places wouldn't even let you remove your children from the county and not, or maybe not the state, but they're definitely not going to let you take the kids out of the country without either his express consent or a court order. And usually for a court order, you usually have to get a move away order. And move away orders are not easy to get. Even if you just want to remove your kids from the state, if their parent, the dad, wants to be involved, the courts are not just going to let you go. Courts do not grant move away orders on the basis of I have family in another state or I can't afford to live here. Because let's keep it 100. The reason she wants to move back to the Philippines is because she cannot afford to take care of those children in the United States by herself. Okay? She is a brand new immigrant. She doesn't have a job here. We don't even know what her education and whatever is, but she doesn't have any way to take care of those children. That's why they're having an in-house separation as we speak, because she has nowhere to go. She doesn't have family here. She doesn't have anybody she can move in with. So the legal system is not going to say, oh, you're a woman, these are your children, you can do whatever you want. They're going to say, those kids have a dad. And even if, for example, he were to get visitation that was only like every other weekend, the courts would still say, we're not going to let you take them overseas just because he only sees them every other weekend. That's not how it works. There's a lot to prove to a court that you want a move away order, even if you are a woman. And some of y'all are going to say like, oh, what about alimony and child support? I'll make another video talking about that. And not only that, he knows this because he made another video where he was talking about she's pregnant with our third child. And so he said she may not want me, she may not love me, but she needs me because he knows that she's stuck.
He canceled her trip to the Philippines. He canceled her trip back home because he said she didn't deserve it. The more I've dug into this, the crazier it gets. At this point, Jayanne, we'll get you to the Philippines, because I don't trust him. And let me tell you something, he's trying to smooth some stuff over. There's been silence too long, and I know he just released this video, but I feel like he's trying to bait her back and just different tactics. Like, it's going to be the calm before the storm. No. Jayanne, listen to me. You do not need this man. This man used you, abused you, and will continue to do so. This is not love. He wants to act like a savior. He is not. If you need help getting to the Philippines, we will get you there. I know TikTok will get together. We will get you back home, because you're safer in your family's arms than in his. Believe you me, this is the downfall right here.
He snatched the keys out of her father's hands. If I could fly to Hawaii right now, sir, you and I would. Apparently, he didn't like the food that they cooked, and he didn't want to eat it. This guy didn't like the food that they cooked. Not only that, after their Disney trip, so during the day, I guess the mom had left some of the food out, and they went to Disney World. When they came back, of course, the food was still there. He felt like they were being slobs. Sir, be so for real. He also says the issue was that Jayanne's mom didn't really help with the kids. And when she finally got up to help with the kids, he sarcastically clapped. Sir, what? You're expecting her mother to help with the kids? First of all, the fact that her mother even made it is chef kiss to me. The fact that the family flew in, they got there, chef kiss. They should be able to relax with their grandchildren, not help clean up after them. If they do, that's a service for everybody else around the house. He snatched the keys out of her dad's hands when they were leaving. Sir,
Welcome to the top floor of my 4-story mansion in Honolulu, Hawaii on New Year's Eve 2025. And you know why I know that my Americanized Filipino wife is not going to leave me?
Why?
She's pregnant. She may not love me, she may not want me, but she needs me.
He originally got on here and talked about how his Filipino wife, that he's 30 years older than, only wanted to be with him for citizenship, but she said, I don't even want to be a citizen. I want to go back to my country. She left you because you were disrespectful to her and to her parents, allegedly. So this just proves that you thought you could buy a wife. You didn't go to her country looking for love. You were looking for a desperate woman that you could control. And now you're throwing up, crying, sliding down the wall, and fighting the air in a mansion because you thought you could buy all women, and she's showing you that not every woman is for sale, even if she does come from a poorer country. You only think she's Americanized because she's standing up for herself, but there are other women in other countries who stand up for themselves too. And I don't care how many small countries you globetrot over to, you're going to find that out the hard way every single time. She's probably been poor before. Being poor only scares you. That woman will probably go back to her country and be perfectly fine. You're the one who's worried about it. What you should be worried about is, why would a woman give up all that you say you have to offer rather than deal with a man like you? You're not online asking, why did she leave me? You're saying, how dare she leave me? And that difference is probably why she left.
So Jayanne from Hawaii, the Filipino wife of Chad to Dad, that disgusting man, who has confirmed that she is pregnant, and she's updated us and let us know that she's actually not going to be leaving him because I don't know. I mean, I do know. I think it's hard a lot of times for people to leave relationships, but I'm concerned for her. I'm concerned for her because one of the things she said is that one of their issues is not only that he disrespected his parents, which he also made a video, which we will talk about what he exactly did, his top 5 things. So like, let's be clear, it was only the top 5. There's more. But she said that one of their biggest issues is that he really hardly lets her because she doesn't get an allowance or anything like that. Anytime she wants something or wants to buy something, they have to discuss it. So she needs permission to buy things. And one of the issues is that, but also the fact that she can't go visit her parents without that permission. And him bringing the parents over here was one step towards that, because family is very big in Filipino culture. And so she was saying that they had a discussion, and so he said he's going to do more towards that so that she can visit her family, but she can't visit them right now. That's what he said. but that they agreed upon that she can visit them in her second trimester. And I have an inkling, just an inkling, that as soon as the second trimester comes, they're going to have another conversation. That's just an inkling that I have, that they're going to have another conversation, and then there's going to be another reason why she can't go. Right now, he's saying she can't go because it's dangerous in her first trimester. I'm not sure why the second trimester would be less dangerous. So, yeah, this man is utterly disrespectful and disgusting. And I'm concerned for her because this stuff doesn't get better. He's only acting this way right now because he's getting a lot of heat. And so he's like, oh, and also there's a baby. He's seeing a way to keep her. And so he's trying to do that. And he knows that she does not have as much power right now. And she obviously doesn't have the funds right now because he has gatekept the finances, which is what we call financial abuse. Jay, if you see this, please leave if you can anyway. And people have been saying that they wanted to give her money, but she was like, no, I don't want to do that. Please let people give you money. You need to at least have some money for yourself. Just in case. Just in case.
I did an entire deep dive investigation on Chad to Dad so that you don't have to. And what I've discovered, thanks to some comments on my other video, will shock you. So his first wife was Mel, and they have this IT business in Hawaii, on the island of Oahu in the city of Honolulu. And that's her. And it looks like the business was founded in 1991. And then this is a picture of them in 2020. Okay, so that's an important detail because what I'm about to tell you next is very strange. But what it appears to happen is that Mel had cancer, and so she couldn't have children. And he wanted to have children. And so it almost seems like the ex-wife is they're still business partners, and it was almost like she was in on the whole idea of him having a baby with somebody else. On his website, he has this whole section about how he is basically rebuilding his ex-wife's house. Notice that, renovating the house of my ex-wife. So he's super involved with her. And remember how in the latest information on Disney World, he said my ex-wife paid for the Disney trip? And that's because they are still business partners, and who knows what else. They have some sort of deep friendship. Apparently their marriage ended because he wanted to have children and that woman couldn't have children, but they're still enmeshed. He's fixing her house. They own a business together. So then it turns out he has this son from a previous relationship, and this woman was not the wife, the ex-wife. Notice how he says the son was born on 2019, and apparently the woman was married to somebody else, which is why he legally couldn't get on the birth certificate. In some states, the father of the baby is presumed to be the father, even if it's not. There's some states like that. So whatever it was, or who knows if he's even the father, whatever it is, he's like, this is my son, but he wasn't married to the woman. And it seems like based on these dates, if he was born in 2019 and that other picture of him and his ex-wife are from 2020, it's almost like he was with that woman and they had either an open relationship or he cheated with that woman and the ex-wife didn't seem to care, or maybe they were just business partners at that point. It's getting really, really weird, okay? On the bottom of his website, I noticed that it says powered by Kent and designed by J.Ann. So he has the new wife working for him, this supposed wife who doesn't have any of her own money. So is she literally a slave? And on his company website, here he has himself. He has his ex-wife, Melanie Osei, who's the one who's this office manager, I believe. And she is the one who paid for Disney World. And then you have J.Ann, the new wife, the young thing, and then some random guy that works for them. But again, really strange that it's new wife working for him, old wife working for him. Is J.Ann paid? And so then he has a lot of content. I found this Instagram page and it's look, your dad isn't single anymore. You have a stepmother and a younger brother. I don't think that's really a stepmother when you weren't married to the ex baby mama, and also it's whatever. It's really complicated. It's like a half sibling anyway. So like, I think that's just called your whatever. Anyway, this is like all stuff about him basically showing off how he's like such a great dad now. It's almost like that when narcissists are wounded because the baby was taken away from him. He's like, well, look how great of a dad I am. And he's almost like proving it by doubling down, by being like, well, I'll just get a new younger wife and prove that I can be a good father. And then I'll have these 2 kids. And he named his new kid Rocky, and his first son was named Rock. Isn't that a little strange? And one of the strangest parts of his website is that that's him young. I guess he's been always really into cosplay, like interesting building, like elaborate costumes. Like this, I guess this is a transformer or something. I don't even know, but he's into like exotic cars. He has his IT business, and then apparently he's also like a plumber, a handyman, electrician, like jack of all trades person. So I don't really understand what's going on. Like this is like so much more than I even thought. Like I've heard of untraditional, poly marriages and stuff. This almost seems like it is a kind of poly marriage where the ex-wife is still his wife, but not in like the romantic way. And then it's like the new wife is there to kind of also work in the business and then provide the child rearing. And so, yeah, part of me feels bad for this guy because like, obviously it would really be really sad to have like your son taken away from you. And like, I have a lot of empathy for that. But he also got himself into this situation by getting a random woman pregnant who was married to someone else while he was presumably married to a wife who had a business together with, whom they've been married for so long, and she unfortunately had cancer. And then all this, despite all that, then he meets Jay-Ann, who's actually from a good family in the Philippines. Like she's not from deep poverty. Like her family owns businesses, and obviously like the dollar is much stronger than the Filipino currency, but even so, like in the Philippines her family is not struggling, so somehow this is all happening. And I don't think this is just to blow up fame. Like there could be an aspect of it like, oh, like if we can go viral we can make more money, like just kind of as a side note. But I think there's so many other ways they could have done that with like cute skits, and like mom influencers go viral all the time anyway just for having cute kids, and like they didn't need to. And the fact that the whole thing with like the disrespecting the Filipino in-laws, I just don't think he would have made that up just to go viral, because that's like pretty bad stuff. Like that's like, if someone threw keys at me or like did a slow clap to me, or like I would just be like, no, we're done
Here, what's really surprising me are the passport bros, the passport bro community coming at me as hard as the bitter divorcees.
Here are 3 of the dilemmas that I've run into as an immigration attorney dealing with passport bros. A young man called my office who was getting ready to go on a military deployment. His wife at the time only had a 2-year residency, 2-year conditional residency. And he wanted to know if she was going to be able to travel with him because, of course, you have to have a physical presence requirement to be a resident of the U.S. Once you become a U.S. citizen, you can come and go as you please. But as a resident, you have to meet a physical presence requirement. And I mentioned to him that if she also planned to apply for citizenship, there was also another physical presence requirement that he needed to consider. At which point he said if they don't stay together, that he did not want her to be able to come back to the United States. So I want to talk about these situations as the ethical dilemmas that attorneys face, especially if you're a young attorney, and because the bar doesn't really offer us any guidance on what to do in these kind of situations. So I'm going to tell you all the situations first, and then I'll go back and tell you what I did in them. And so second situation, a man and his wife come in for a consultation. He does not speak Spanish. She does not speak English. And so I'm trying to conduct the consultation in both languages, translating his questions to me, and then giving my response first in Spanish, and then to him in English. Every single time I go to do the Spanish translation, he interrupts me with a new question, trying to force the conversation along in English. And so I had to stop him and say, I need to give her this information as well. He said that they were in a hurry. I said, well, you could come back another day. He got very upset by that, stood up and started getting aggressive. So that was the second issue, okay? It's the second time where I feel like I see an obvious passport bro, because why are you so offended by me giving her the information? Third situation, a woman calls. Her paperwork has actually already been filed, but when her husband filed the paperwork for her, he did not file a request for her to be able to travel while her documents were pending. If you don't know, if a person is filing for residency in the United States, they cannot freely travel anymore. They have to wait until they either have a travel permit or their residency card arrives. And so she wanted to get a travel permit done. The problem was that he had told her that if she traveled, then he was going to write to USCIS and withdraw her application. Okay, now let's go backward and talk about what I did in those ridiculous situations, and you can tell me what you would have done, because honestly, the bar does not offer us any guidance. We're just out here winging it with these type of situations. All right, situation number one. The man does not want his wife to be able to come back to the US while they're stationed overseas if their relationship no longer continues. Included in that phone call, he told me that they had 2 children. So he effectively would be taking those 2 children away from her because they would be able to come back to the US and she would not be able to come back. I told him that I really needed to speak with her to get a couple of dates straight. In the original consultation, he was unable to tell me the exact date that she arrived, the exact date at the start of her residency application. So I was like, oh, I really need to speak to her so I can get all of the dates down. But he figured out what I was up to, because I wanted to tell her, like, she needed to have her own attorney to consult with about her citizenship, residency, requirements to make sure she'd come back to the US. And he never called again. He never had her call. And unfortunately, I imagine that he was probably able to find an attorney who would give him the information he needed without being concerned about how he was treating that woman. Oh, that's the end of my infusion oil. Love this stuff. Second situation, this is the one where the man was giving me a hard time when I tried to translate to his spouse the questions that he was asking during the consultation. So for this, we went ahead and finished that meeting that day. And then I had a staff member call her later on during that week. I told the staff member, I want you to specifically try to suss out whether he's home or not. And then tell her that if she's dealing with any kind of abuse, then there are resources available that will be able to help her obtain residency if she left that relationship. Here, I'm in Washington, D.C., so luckily in this area, we have a lot of different options available. We have AYUDA, we have Mil Mujeres, we have Corazon, we have Catholic Charities. We have a lot of different options where people can go to do U visa or VAWA. U visa is if it's a physical criminal action that's being done against them, and VAWA is if it's any kind of abuse, doesn't require the police to be involved at all. At that time, she declined. But at least she had the information for the future if things were to worsen, so that was what we did for that. In the third situation, this is the one where the woman wants to travel to see her sick child, but the husband was saying that if you go on a travel permit, then I'm going to cancel your pending application. So I told her we can do the travel permit application for you, and we can use a different address. That way he won't see the receipt of when the filing is done and won't be aware of it. But the bigger issue, him saying he's going to write to withdraw your application if you travel, unfortunately, I can't do anything about that. I tried to talk to her about, is this a relationship that you really want to be in? Do you want to go the route of VAWA so you'd be able to travel while the application is pending? She really wasn't interested in hearing any of that. But again, at least she now has the information where she didn't have it before. So what would you do? What do you think?